Myself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 138 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam and that is Mel, and today we are joined by the amazing, wonderfully talented Keila Cash from The Wrap, because it is not a Halloween live stream without Keila. This is our third annual Halloween live stream, and Keila has been part of all of them, and we are so glad that she is joining us today for this one.
I am so happy to be back here today, like our third annual Holla Scream edition of Powerbombshells. Being an honorary broad is one of my pleasures here, and I'm so happy to be back to celebrate Halloween. And not only that, you picked a great day because it's also Halloween Havoc Sunday.
Yes,
Oh,
perfect timing.
right.
Yes. I bet you were,
Lovely.
yeah, that should be a really good show. I've seen some of the matches that they have announced for it, and sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Are you guys doing a live stream afterwards today?
Not a live stream, but we will be doing an episode after the show that will go live late Sunday night on the podcast feed.
Nice. So make sure you guys, especially if you're a WWE fan, you can't get much better than The Wrap. So make sure that you subscribe to Fight Game Media wherever you listen to podcasts so that you can check it out, because Keila and Scott always have great feedback and thoughts about the world of WWE. And actually, I'm glad that you're on here because one of the topics we're going to talk about in a little bit. I was like, oh, perfect, Keila's here, so we can talk about that. So, is there a match in particular that you're looking forward to the most from Halloween Havoc tonight?
Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to Julia and Stephanie versus Roxanne and Cora. It's going to be a very good tag team match. And I'm going to be bold and say that Opa Femi and Tony D and that tables, ladders, and scares match, that might steal the show. I expect some crazy stuff to happen in that match. I expect mayhem in that match.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with the, I mean, that's how you gotta get the scares part of that match. So
Somebody's falling off of something very, very high.
Don't tell Kevin Owens. Or maybe somebody says Kevin Owens is suspended from TV or whatever. Maybe somebody's coming for his spot of jumping off of high things.
Yes, and going through tables, because that's a Kevin Owens tradition. Like, has he gone through a table this year?
I don't think so. He's running out of time. We have before Mel and I reveal our costumes, we have Daza here says for Keila to please tell him to take out my gang and track down the Warriors.
And I know exactly what he means by that. And I love you for that, because the voice, I know every time I'm on here, it triggers you in a good way.
Hey, we like triggering in a good way here.
Big time. I mean, I'm with Daza on the Warriors anyway. Like, I don't really have a choice. I kind of inherited the Warriors because my best friend and my husband both are like huge Warriors fans. And as soon as it becomes a bond like that, it's like you're watching it over and over with them, whether you like it or not. So it is what it is.
Well, since this is our live stream, I guess are we ready to do the reveal? Mel and I have not seen each other, and then Keila, of course, has not seen us either. So I think,
and I kind of tried to go for a WWE wrestler for Keila. So who wants to go first? It wasn't really for Keila. It was actually like what I had to work with. I mean, it was like a dual thing. It was like,
but it ends up working out perfectly. So we're gonna just like count down 3, 2, or actually we can have Keila count down for us. And
okay,
do that.
All right, and in 5, let me be dramatic. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reveal yourselves.
Sorry. I tried to get my Hugger Bailey hair to work.
Oh my God.
It's so cute.
Did it work? Did it
Yes.
register? At least?
Yes.
I mean, I was trying for the pigtails, but I was like, can't get the pigtails to work because I couldn't get my hair pulled back. And then I'm like, well, that's more like Evil Bailey anyway. I want Hugger Bailey. So I didn't have like a sweatband. I only had a ribbon, but That's what I went for.
I love it.
I mean, we have the same like complexion and like the same brow line basically. And I mean, I have cute, like I have cute like tracksuits and stuff. So.
And so I was telling Mel last week, we typically obviously do wrestling themed, and I had a wrestling theme picked out, but Nikki has been adamant that I do a different costume because I recently had neck surgery or not neck on my thyroid, and so it was on my neck. And so Nikki said that I should go as the girl with the green ribbon. So that is a classic horror story from our childhood, and we were trying to, and so Jenny is her name, and she are you guys familiar with that story of the
what
girl,
is it called?
The girl with the green ribbon?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm gonna have to check this out now.
Me too.
There's a girl named Jenny, and she wears a green ribbon all the time, never takes it off. And she meets this guy, Alfred, who always tells her, you know, why do you wear the green ribbon? And she's like, I can't tell you. One day I can tell you, but not now. And he pesters her all the time, and she never tells him. And eventually they get married. Still, even as his wife, still will not tell him what the green ribbon is for. And then finally, as she gets older, she gets very sick. And the doctor comes to see her, and Alfred goes into the room, and she says, Alfred, you can now take the ribbon off. And he slowly unties her ribbon, and her head falls off.
Mel is gagged.
She is.
That is like, well, it's like a love story, but also a horror story.
Yes.
So that's in my wheelhouse.
Yes. So Nikki was like, well, and so we've been joking prior to my surgery. We were joking about the girl with the green ribbon, and she was like, you're going to have to wear a green ribbon. And so Nikki was like, this is probably going to be like the only time that you could do this costume. She was like, I know it's not wrestling, but so we went and we found some green ribbon.
I thought about wearing my one from the other day. That's awesome. I love that. See, now I'm glad that I didn't know this story because it made it even better.
Yeah. Well, yes, it did. Yeah. And that's what I was telling Nikki. I was like, I meant to do it. I told her the other day, I was like, I should probably save a picture of the book cover, or the story cover, so that I was like, for that, because I thought it would be younger people who would not know the story, because it was one that, and it's been around, like it went around on TikTok, I think it was last year, because somebody was telling the story, but they were telling it in like a much more funny way, because it was talking about how Alfred doesn't understand boundaries because he keeps asking her. and so it's just this really, the way they tell the story is really funny. So but yes, so that is the costume that we went with this year. And because we joked about, Mel and I had even joked about before, like if I lost my voice after the surgery, we would just do the Shibata thing where I would just communicate via Google Translate. And that's how we would do the show, as I would just play the role of Shibata.
That would have been actually amazing to see you with the phone, with the words flashing on the screen. Like, this is what I mean to say right here in translation.
Right.
Oh, I could get you a bunch of fun apps too. There's like some funny stuff that you can like put it right here, and you're like, you could like set a voice.
Yeah, that would have been great. Yeah, maybe that's what I should have done.
Like Angry Sam, and hey, we have that for future. We can always use that. That's sort of evergreen. It would be funny no matter when you use it.
That is true. Yeah, because I was telling Nikki, I was like, I guess I could have just ordered a wrestler shirt from PWTs, and just like Shibata wears his own shirt all the time, and just had my Google Translate ready to talk shit like Shibata does. Or accept matches.
Because we went as Nadja and Laszlo, for which, if you're What We Do in the Shadows fan, to our local one recently on last week, 3 days ago, whatever. And so I was like, all right, I can make this work because it had the red things, but I was just like, okay, I don't have time for these stupid pigtails. It's going up. It's going up like 1980s style. It's like the first time when I was a kid, up until I was in my teens, I had long hair because my dad like refused to let my sister and I cut our hair. So we had like super long hair. And so, but as soon as I was like 17 years old, I went in and a friend of mine, her mom was that like hairdresser. And I was like, cut it off. And I've never gone back, and I've saved a boatload on product. Like Bob has more product for his beard than I'll ever have for my hair. He has like styling products and a freaking like I bought him a hot iron for it. I'm like, do you realize that I haven't bought what heating thing for my for hair since probably like my parents bought me a crimper in the 80s.
Listen, that beard is high maintenance, and you have to take if Tommaso Ciampa compliments your beard, then that means you have to take good care of it.
True.
Because you do not want to let Tommaso Ciampa down when it comes to your beard.
That was always so funny. Someone said to us at one of the food doors, he's like, has anyone ever told you look like Tommaso Ciampa? And it's like, no, but he likes my beard.
Which is a way better compliment. If Tommaso
one
Ciampa
beard of
likes your
separation.
Beard,
So.
that's a pretty good. Like you can't get much better of a compliment than that. I don't think.
No, that was pretty fun. That was nice. I love Keila's picture. Like I love that so much.
It's great.
Thank you. I wanted to shake things up this year. Let me get a top hat and an ornament. Let's celebrate Halloween and Christmas at the same time.
Yes.
It works.
I mean,
and see, it brings
kind
in the theme of Nightmare Before Christmas, and
yes,
so you get the Halloween and the Christmas. Do you consider that a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? I know that's the big debate.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's like a hybrid. So I'm gonna cheat and say it's both. You can watch it for Halloween and then roll it back 2 months later and play it for Christmas.
Yeah, see, I think so
perfect
too.
match.
Yes, I agree.
It's like a Thanksgiving time frame. You get that like late November, early December is like the perfect time when you can like you're like, ooh, crossover. Yes. That one I totally agree with that. It's totally hybrid. I think you can use either. Plus it's so good.
Yeah,
it is great.
It's just, a good one. I mean,
that is true. We have Daza over here said, Mel, what would your gang be called? His would be called the Booksellers.
The Booksellers. Gosh, I've never really thought about it. I mean, we have timekeepers, which
that's what I was about to say. I guess the timekeepers is the power.
I thought about talking to you about putting together some like old school 80s like headbands and like get some like super big watches and like do something like that for this at one point. And I was like, nah, let's do our own thing. But I was like, it would be kind of funny for us to just like goof off and wear like sort of like the old school 80s shirts and some like sweatbands and like
I would love that.
It's all back in now. The stuff that goes around. My sister and I were talking the other day about like we don't get rid of anything anymore because you can always just reuse
well, that's why I was gonna do originally before I ended up going with the girl with the green ribbon. I was gonna go as Erica Lee because which is the girl who comes out with the Outrunners. Because she
perfect.
She has because like I was like, well, I have like 80s jewelry from when we used to go to this nightclub that was that 80s 90s nightclub that when they closed like I guess like 2 or 3 years ago now. Like so we had stuff still that we've like just kept, and so I was like, and I was just gonna find like an 80s themed t-shirt, and then Nikki was like, this is gonna probably be your only time to go as this one, and so she was like so she can
like you have to capitalize on these things,
right? Exactly. Nikki's like, this is like your window is small. She's like, you could always do Erica Lee next year. She was like, or some version of the Outrunners. So
we could do that too. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Nikki said that yes, the Erica Lee was also her costume idea because we were trying to think of something low key that would be easy to do, just because of surgery and stuff like that. We were like, I don't want to, I don't have time to do a lot of stuff, and I'm not gonna. I was like, I don't know that I will top doing the Bray Wyatt tribute that I did last year. So
yeah,
that was pretty good.
I was like, I don't think I'll top that one. And but Nikki said the green ribbon idea is way better. Well, I mean, we did have Shibata, which I guess Shibata was probably evergreen too. And Nikki said that she thought. At first she thought Mel was Tony Basil in the Mickey video.
And that's all I see. When Nikki said that, I was looking at Mel and I said for the last 15 minutes, that's Tony Basil.
It's Tony Basil.
Yes, that's all I see in the face.
It's Bailey as Tony Basil.
You
can spell out Bailey with it. You don't even have to spell out Mickey. You can just B-A-L-E-Y.
I'm not singing. I'm not doing it.
We need
You
the
don't-
pom-poms. We need the choreography. We need all of that.
That would
Yes,
have been
all I've
fun.
been seeing.
I don't,
is
that's like one
Tony.
thing I don't have is pom-poms. I mean, it's just never come up. It's the classic. I mean, the really classic ones we don't have for some reason, like the big sunglasses or the.
I
you'd
have
think-
big sunglasses because
You'd
I
think that
enjoy
we would
wearing
have
big
like the
sunglasses.
basics, but I think we jumped all like past that. And so it's like we had to go get vampire teeth. That's like the first time ever. And the verdict is in for those of you who care. I would much rather wear elf ears than vampire teeth, even with the fact that it pulls on my head a little bit, because you can't talk with them. They're okay to drink with if you get the theater ones and whatever, but it's like you're lisping all night and you feel just weird. And I'm like, nope, I'll take my elf ears over my teeth. So that's my costuming tip of the day. That's Mel's costuming tip of the Halloween season for everyone. Rather be elf ears than vampire teeth. So.
Nikki said, I'm in costume too. It was Brian with a plastic bag on the head. JK.
Wow. And
Yeah, so
this-
last week, Keila, we were joking about how Mel podcasters, not just in our network, but how Mel podcasters typically don't want to participate in wearing Halloween costumes. And so we were like, we can give you easy Halloween costumes that you could use. And so we were saying, like, you could go as BCC. If you're going to be John Moxley, you have to wear a Schmedium t-shirt. And then if you're Yuta or Claudio, you wear a slightly looser white t-shirt. And then if you're Pac, you just wear no shirt and wet your hair. And then Nikki suggested that if you could be Bryan Danielson and just wear a plastic bag on your head, which made me laugh very hard because I was not expecting to read that in the chat.
No.
And then
first of all,
like,
that's sick. Second of all, because of the graphic, I'm going to pull an AEW because of the graphic nature of this idea. We won't be able to show it. So you can just visualize it.
Right. Exactly.
This
We
is
wouldn't
true.
be able to
You
do
cannot
that.
show
for sure.
it. So
Plus,
that's why
I
Nikki.
think we even said, I mean, at the time we even kind of like disclaimered it, like, and if anyone's listening for the first time, please don't do that. Don't lock yourself in an empty fridge and don't put a plastic bag over your head.
No.
Okay.
And or if you want to be like Daniels, when we were talking about, you would just use a reusable bag. It would not be plastic, it would be reusable. Nikki said it's Halloween, you have to be graphic and scary.
Look
mean,
at you
that's a fair
breaking the
point.
rules, but I understand it. But
They're
because of
scary, and then
standards and
there's, like-
practices,
We even, and then I was like, you could even be Joe Hendry. I was like, you could just go buy like a silk pajama top and put on a blonde wig. And I was like, so see, these are easy. I mean, obviously Orange Cassidy is a super easy costume. So I was like, see, I was like, we're giving you all these free ideas of wearing costumes, and you don't even have to spend that much. Just find a couple of things. Just go to, I'm sure your local thrift store probably has some blue silk pajama tops, maybe. Vinkin says that's why Moxley is the champion.
yes, he is. I like
True.
Sam acknowledging the Schmedium shirt because that man is swole now.
He is
knows
swole, and he's gotta show off how swole he is. So he wears the super Schmedium shirts. But then you've got Claudio and Wheeler, whose shirts are slightly looser.
Yeah,
They like to breathe and be able to move around. John Moxley doesn't care because he's gonna murder somebody anyway. Nikki said, rip a hole in there if you wear a plastic bag. We need you, or I guess even the reusable bag, because we need our listeners to stay alive. This is true. We don't want that on our hands.
Suffocation would not be nice.
No.
I like safety first. At least get 3 holes in the bag. And if they're reusable, they're extra breathable. See, Bryan Danielson was ahead of the curve. Go to your local store and get you a nice reusable bag. Poke 3 holes and breathe.
There you go. See? Perfect.
God, that belt will always be my favorite belt.
The environment when he was
Yes,
yes.
his environmental
I love
belt
that.
will still build. It will always be.
I
my
love that
favorite.
belt. And it's funny, I was using there's some of this brand of soap that I use they have crystals in them, and the last soap that I used had a howlite in it, and it made me think of Bryan Danielson's belt because it had turquoise and howlite crystals in it. was
He's
like,
such a like hippie West Coast like evergreen nerd guy. It's so funny, even having lived out there for as long as we did. It's like, God, he's so funny. It's yeah. That's one way. I mean, he's great, obviously.
he is great. We love him.
He is. He's
We
so
love and
many
miss
great
him.
things. But no,
I have
actually,
to-
you know what? Even at the Halloween party, overall, it's almost always like, for some reason, us ladies just are better, more comfortable with it than the boys. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're like, yay, we get to dress
Yay,
up. They're
costume.
like, I'm wearing a pumpkin sweatshirt. Okay.
Close enough, I guess.
You tried, man. That's all right.
Venkin says after a Wednesday, his thoughts now is who does Moxley take out next?
Huh?
That's a good question. Because he's just going after everybody. I mean, that stuff like that beatdown with the Dark Order was intense. Well, and then they did like we talked about last week, they did Collision. They ended the show. They did the trios match at the end of Collision and then went right into Battle of the Belts and they put their titles on against Dark Order and beat the crap out of them. And I didn't because I was at I went to Ashe's show last night, so I haven't seen Collision yet, but I didn't watch it, but I saw that there was a clip of an interview with Nigel and Yuta, and everybody is like, okay, well now Nigel has to wrestle Yuta. Those are the rules. So I don't know what happened in that interview, but apparently I was like, wait, Nigel's gonna fight on Danielson's behalf? I was like, that is a turn I didn't see coming. Oh, all right. Let's see. We do have some. We will get into some more Halloween themed stuff. If you're new to the Halloween live stream, we do a fun little where we cast our own horror movie, and we pick wrestlers as cast members, and then we make a story out of it. So we will get to that, but because we are a wrestling podcast. We do have to talk about some wrestling. If you missed our tweets, we did say that obviously the Ring Boys lawsuit came out earlier this week. Because that is such a serious and sensitive topic, we felt it would be inappropriate to discuss while celebrating Halloween and dressed in costume. It deserves a ton of respect. And so the conversation is being pushed to next week. And since this is my last show before having a follow-up surgery on Tuesday, I won't be here for probably a couple episodes, but we do have our honorary broad, BJ Bethel, coming back next Sunday, rather. And he and Mel are going to discuss that. And then I think we're going to work out maybe having some other honorary broads filling in. But we did want to at least make note of that it is something that we would normally talk about right off the bat, but we just felt that was inappropriate to do it on today's episode. So we will get to that, but so today's topics will be focused on more lighthearted stuff, and so not that something so heavy. And as I said before, this ended up being a good time for Keila to be here because I want to talk to her about her impressions of Motor City's debut two Fridays ago. 2 Fridays ago now that they debuted in WWE. What you think of them being there, and then we'll talk about what happened on Friday.
Oh my goodness. So it's been a long time coming. I'm very, very happy for Alex and Chris to get this moment in WWE. The main roster debut was everything. They were probably kind of surprised. Like the initial plan was NXT, but surprise, you're going to be moving right up to the main roster because things happened regarding the Lucha Brothers not moving the WWE as quickly as people predicted. So it was probably a blessing in disguise that it happened this way. And what I really love about the presentation is that Corey Graves makes it a point to say, this is your favorite tag team's favorite tag team.
Yes.
They grew up watching
so
and idolizing them. I love that. And it plays into their history. It plays into their accomplishments, and to know they set the table for all the tag teams we love today.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was I was so glad that he said it right off the bat, that he immediately established them as being important. And I know Wade Barrett was there to kind of be the Hill commentator. And so he was just like, okay, but there's these other tag teams in the match, which I get it. You don't want to overshadow the tag teams, but he just very much treated it as like, well, they didn't make their name in WWE, so they're not that important. And Corey was like, not on my watch. we're gonna talk about how important they are. And then even this week on the most recent episode, Michael Cole was just all about them, just really put them over. He was very excited for them to be there. He just talked about their history and how important they are to wrestling as a whole and to tag team wrestling. And him and Corey were just kind of like nerding out a little bit, which was nice to see. I was glad to see them get that kind of love. And then, they immediately get put into a situation. Well, it was originally, Nick Aldis hinted they're going to beat the surprise team. They're going to wrestle Los Garza. And then, they introduce Motor City on social media. And he's like, by the way, this is now a triple threat. and then if you win this, then you are 2 wins away from potentially becoming champion. And so what did you think about that little twist that they added there for Motor City?
I liked it. Like, let's get right to the point. Like, let's get to the championship match. Is it going to be at the Blood Money PLE or is it going to be on SmackDown? I thought
that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, are they doing this? I was like, are they doing this at Blood Money? I was like, oh my God.
Like, actually, can we do it on SmackDown 2 weeks before so we can, because normally they put like a big match on the day before the PLE.
Right.
And like give us a little more. So I'll take that over Blood Money, even though I have to watch it from my job, but I'll take that on SmackDown.
Yeah. And that's kind of what they did, except for it's not. So the Blood Money show is on November 2nd. And so it's this coming Saturday. So they didn't save it for Friday night show. They did it this past Friday. So what they did was, if you haven't seen, so DIY won the other tournament match. And so we got the big dream match that people have been, including myself, have been wanting for years, is Motor City versus DIY. It only had a week build. But I guess it's technically been years in the making. And so we're getting this dream match. The second week in the company, and we're getting this match. And then, so they got, and now I know why they didn't. I was hoping that they would get more time, because I was like, this is a match we've been waiting for years. And the match was great. I think it showed because in the first match, which was the triple threat, they only got to show a taste of what they can do for people who aren't familiar with them. But I think Friday, people really got to see, okay, this is why people talk about Motor City. This is why people really like them. And so I thought the match was great. Motor City, Motor City wins. And before we get into the follow-up part, what did you think of the match?
I thought it was really good. It was a nice showcase for both teams, really a dream match that was years in the making. We didn't expect it was going to happen like week 2 of their run on SmackDown. Like, can we get like a little breathing room? But I'm all for it. Like, if you have a new team and you intend to push them and give us that dream match off top. And I thought the work was great. The Brooklyn crowd was into it. And Alex and Chris showed out, and Ciampa and Gargano, they always deliver in these moments.
Yes.
And that had to be a dream for them to have this opportunity to be on this big stage with one of their favorite tag teams ever and deliver that caliber of a match, and knowing that they're only scratching the surface, because I'm thinking DIY is turning heel at some point, and I would love for them to run this back as heels for the titles on a big show.
And that's interesting that you say that, because I have a friend who is WWE is the main thing that she watches, and she said that too. She was like, I think I wonder, because Johnny tweeted earlier in the week, he was tweeting about like how much Alex Shelley meant to him, and how he had he'd always looked up to him, and then they became friends, and like he's posted old pictures of them, and Alex quote tweeted it and said some of the had really nice positive things to say about him. And when Johnny originally tweeted that, my friend was like, are we getting a deal turn? And I was like, well, Street Profits seem to kind of be doing, I thought that's where they were headed, because Street Profits kind of got screwed out of that shot with DIY, because they both, it appeared that they both went for the pin at the same time, but it turns out that I think it was Montez Ford was not the legal man in the match, and so the win went to DIY, and that's how we got to Friday's match. And so, understandably, Street Profits are very upset. They feel like they got screwed out of that shot, and so I thought maybe that was where we were going, is that they were going to be the heels and kind of give DIY some, but they definitely have planted some seeds. And Tommaso was he was not thrilled with Gargano in that match, because Gargano because he looks up to Shelly, and Tommaso's like, listen, you got to quit fanboying. Like, we're here trying to win a title. Like, you can't be doing this. And then there was the spot in the match where Johnny Gargano was going to do a move. I think it was on Chris Sabin, and Sabin rolled out of the way, and he took out Ciampa instead, and and eventually ended up costing them the match. And so I was like, well, maybe we are planting some hill seeds. We've seen it. We've seen Tommaso be a hill. And to me, I love Johnny Gargano so much. He's one of my favorites, and Tommaso too. But I feel like Johnny's just a natural baby face, and it's so hard to take him seriously as a heel, because he just can't help it. He is just such a good guy that but in this situation, with it being with Tommaso, I think it'll work a little bit better this time around.
I agree. It'll probably work because Ciampa is so serious, and Johnny does camp so well that you can't do that with Ciampa, who's continuously dead serious about everything. So this won't be the way 2.0. Like, you will be a mean mugging, sadistic heel. It worked for Wheeler Yuta in AEW. So Johnny, you too can be a mean mugging bastard and get away with it.
That's an excellent point. Wheeler Yuta that's a perfect way to describe it, because Wheeler was such a good
comparison. He's just finally becoming I'm finally being able to see Yuta as a little bit of a heel. So if he could, I mean, I don't know. This match sounds like something I'd be interested in just to chime in real quick, but
sure.
I just really wanted to I was like, oh my gosh, she just blew my mind just there. It's the perfect way for Johnny to channel that stuff.
Channel your inner Wheeler Yuta, Johnny.
Wheeler Yuta, which none of us ever would have thought we would.
Who would have thought? It's the Paul Rudd meme. Who would have thought? Not us.
I'll never take that guy seriously as a heel.
That Wheeler Yuta is the heel template that he should follow. Nice guy, sweet, humble, can get gnarly when need be, but actually he's sadistic. Like Johnny, you can do that. Like one low blow, one chair shot to somebody's back, and you're in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, now I think this is what I want. I think I want to see Johnny Gargano channel his inner Wheeler Yuta and become a heel. Man, that'll be a lot of fun.
This is why you need Keila in your life.
Right, exactly. And so then you've got the Street Profits story kind of in that, which can kind of feed into the heel turn too, which so they can, and Street Profits obviously are an incredible tag team too. And I'm glad to see them get involved in this.
I love all three tag teams you're talking about. I just don't watch the television. So it's I can't really weigh in. I'm happy for Motor City. I'm glad that they're getting a push. I'm glad that they didn't just bring them in and do nothing with them.
Right. Well, and so what ended up happening so they they become the number one contenders, barely celebrate. Here comes Solo Sikoa and the rest of the New Bloodline, because it's always about the bloodline on SmackDown. So they come and they had the number one, they were wrestling, GOD have the tag titles. And so they come out, introduce themselves, and want to be acknowledged. Solo, of course, has a great need to be acknowledged as a tribal chief, and comes out there and it's like, all right, my God, I acknowledge you or whatever, but that's the least important thing here. And he said, whenever you're ready to hand those titles over, we're ready. Chris Sabin's not backing down. He doesn't care that you're the bloodline. Those titles are what we're after. We don't care who's holding them. And so then they're talking, and then they're like, you know what? Right, we'll take those titles anytime, any place. We'll do it. And they're like, all right, Alex Shelley's like, let's do it right now. And Nick Aldis was like, well, then he asks each one individually, if this is what you want, we'll do it right now. And they did right then and there. They did the match. And of course, the bloodline shenanigans happen because you can't have a bloodline match without shenanigans. That's not allowed unless it's specifically sanctioned that there's going to be no outside interference. And so we see Jimmy and Jay. Well, and let me back this up. I know Keila's aware. So Monday night, Jay Uso was wrestling Braun Breaker, defending the IC title because Jay won the title from Braun a couple of weeks ago, and the bloodline cost Jay his title. And so Jay was like, okay, well, let's see what happens Friday night, because I'm going to cost you your tag titles. So that's how Motor City ends up with the titles. So while I'm very excited for Motor City having titles, it has the bloodline stench on it because they did bloodline things to make them champions. So I have mixed emotions about it. I was like, we're here, we're champions. This is how we got here. Not thrilled about it, but I'm hoping that means that the bloodline will be distracted enough for War Games that they will just kind of leave Motor City to kind of do their own thing as champions. They've got DIY and Street Profits to deal with right now. We don't have time for bloodline things, but maybe we circle back to that. Maybe the bloodline, who knows, maybe God is like, no, we need these titles to head into Survivor Series. But I think, so going into War Games, none of them will have titles. Is that correct, Keila?
Yeah, none of them will be with belts, which is very interesting. Like, for the first time in a really long time, no member of the bloodline has a championship at all. This is all about family now. Like, family blood war 2024 is going down and there's no titles. But I'm a little mixed too on how it happened. Like, the bloodline stench of the victory. But at the same time, it kind of had to happen this way because what happened to Jay on Monday, by his family cost him the championship. And me and Scott talked about this. We didn't expect for it to happen this fast, but we just kept saying, who's going to kill Jacob Fatu? Who's going to take him out? Because he's the X factor. You can't do anything with him around. Thankfully, he was taken care of. But that was my primary concern. Like, if they're going to win, Jacob can't be there for it. So that happened. Very happy for Chris and Alex.
Yeah,
long overdue. I did laugh at Solo mocking them, saying right here, right now, anytime, any place. I'm like, Solo has now mastered being a ham hock, because for the longest time he was trying to be a Roman Reigns prototype. Now he's being Solo himself, and he's actually funny.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely settled into that role. It took him a little bit to get there, but he's gotten there. And then now you have, there's so many interesting dynamics. And like, for those of you who aren't watching, like Roman and Jimmy Uso came to help at Bad Blood, and then like they've gotten beat down a couple times. It's just the two of them, and Jimmy is like, he like at the end of the SmackDown, he looked at him and he's like, we need help. Like, we can't do this on our own. And so they've been trying to get Jay, but I mean, we can't forget Roman, obviously a good guy now, but he was gaslighting the hell out of them for a couple years, and Jimmy's just back in on it. And Jay was like, why? Like, why am I going to do anything to help Roman Reigns? Like, this is not happening. Roman won't even admit what he did to us. Like, this is not happening. And then finally, he just saw them getting beat down. And then obviously what happened on Monday was more like, or Friday was more of him kind of getting some revenge. But then we had the really nice moment with, so Motor City celebrated for a few minutes, left the ring. You have Jimmy and Jay kind of looking at each other like, do we do this? Are we ready? Can we trust each other again? And then we get the nice moment where they finally just embrace and hug, and the crowd goes crazy. Roman Reigns is pouting at the top of the ramp. I said it looked like that Squidward meme, or this one where Squidward is looking out the window at Patrick and SpongeBob, except for in that meme he's annoyed, but in this one he's sad. But that's what that means. That's what I thought of when I saw that. I was like, he's the Squidward in this situation.
It's the perfect comparison, because he feels left out. Like, how come I can't get hugged too? Because you have to humble yourself, Roman. Like, you have to actually apologize to Jay and say, I'm sorry for gaslighting you. And the only other person that's going to bring the family back together. And I cannot wait when this happens, is when Sami Zayn is going to come in. And that's really going to piss off Kevin Owens. That's what I'm looking forward to. Because he says, what, you too? E2, Sammy? E2.
Right. Exactly. Yes, it's going to be great. And we're all waiting on it. Like, we know it's coming, but it's going to be, regardless, it's going to be great whenever it happens. And yeah, and then you've got the Kevin's part of the storyline, and you've got, you know, he's kind of distracted with Randy Orton, and he's taken out Cody, and like, so there's a lot of interesting moving parts. And, you know, I hope that Motor City, not that they need to be in the center of it, because there's, you know, the story doesn't concern them, but they're kind of part of the story now, because they're the ones who took the titles off of God. So they're kind of in this, you know, they're I don't want to say bit parts of the story, because I think they're more than that, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe they don't have any further until God, until they get a rematch down the line, which clearly won't be at Survivor Series. What's the December pay-per-view?
There is no pay-per-view in December. That's the last.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right there, but they're doing the holiday show, right? That's a house show, right? Yes, because it's the same night as World's End. That's which is the AEW pay-per-view.
Yes,
same night,
head battle. Will a live stream on Peacock? That's the question. This live event special that's somewhere in Florida, will we actually be bold enough to stream head to head as a special house show event?
Right, which is interesting. So do they? It would be an interesting. I don't know where they do this rematch, because they've got to do a rematch at some point with God losing the titles. Do you do it on a show like that where it's where you could go head to head with World's End? Do you save it, because January is obviously Royal Rumble season? I mean, you could do it on the, you know, depending on who's going to be in the Rumble, but there are obviously other matches besides the Rumble matches. So do you hold off and do the rematch there, or do you do it on a random SmackDown?
Yeah, and then we got to remember the Royal Rumble's in February, so it's like 2 months between
that
shows.
Is right, because you're right.
So it's got to be like, maybe they'll do it for day one, whatever day one for the New Year is going to be. Maybe they'll wait then, or maybe Saturday night's main event. Oh yeah,
because they're going to want to do it big for a Saturday night main event. So that's certainly where they could hang it, you know, where they could hold it. And Steven has a question for you, Keila, and he wants to know: do you think Hikuleo will become part of this either or at or before War Games?
Oh, that's a good question. I've heard plans of him moving to NXT first, so I don't know if he's going to be directly in the Bloodline storyline. And honestly, they have enough people for right now. Like, I don't need another Uce in the Bloodline. I need a break. Because at this point, we've completed game 1 of the World Series of the Bloodline storyline. Like, we're not in the 9th inning. We're in game 2. It's inning 4. And we need to rest all future Bloodline members until 2026. Respectfully, I've seen enough for right now. We're good. Hikuleo could be on NXT, dominate for a year, and then come up. I don't need any more Bloodline members. We're good.
You know, and that would be great for Hikuleo to establish himself as his own person, to see who he is, that he doesn't have to, obviously he's always going to be associated with his family. Looks just like them. We can't deny. I mean, it's not Braun Breaker where they change his name. Like, we know you're a Steiner. We can listen. We close your eyes and listen to you talk.
Yes.
So
I think what's voice in your dad's face. There you go.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think with Hikuleo, if that's the route they go, that would actually be really good. Let him establish himself away from the bloodline. Let him make himself see who he is outside of New Japan. Who can he be? Who is he? Who does Hikuleo know who he is without his family? Because, you know, he was there. I mean, obviously he had ELP and things like that, but he was involved with his family for a little bit in New Japan. So it would be nice to see Hikuleo kind of stand on his own 2 feet and see what he can do, and then build himself up so that when the time comes, when he's got to, who knows if he's going to play a savior role or where exactly they're going to fit him in there. But I think, you know, when you put it that way, I think that's a smarter plan for him.
Yeah. And for me, I think the smarter plan down the road, because we know one day, very soon, Solo is going to be overthrown as a tribal chief. And one day he is going to acknowledge Roman Reigns as his tribal chief one day. And when that happens, his own tribe is going to kill him. and then you
Yes.
bring in Hikuleo to finish him. That is what that's what I would do in the twist.
I like
because
it.
then Jacob would be the new tribal chief for that bloodline.
Yeah, because that's the thing is Solo's got to count his days, because once Jacob is the one. I mean, let's be honest. Jacob is the guy, and I think that they have to be careful with the way they handle Jacob, and I think they're going to be smart about it. They've been smart with it so far, I think, and because like you said, I'd like to see Hikuleo finish him off, and then Jacob be the one to be to lead the new bloodline. And I think that's a great theory. And Steven says, I'll get to your question in just a minute, Venkin. Steven says, I have a feeling whenever we finally see him, he'll be a bit bulkier, and he put in parentheses more swole.
Yes, the John Moxley plan. He'll be in NXT putting at least 30 pounds of muscle
right
in the next year.
And then he'll wear the Schmedium shirts before he kills people.
That's good merch.
It is good merch.
I want to see a tag that says Schmedium on it now. I really do. If I ever bought you a custom shirt, like I would, even though that wasn't a real size, I would like make a custom tag that says Schmedium. Because you can usually put a little complimentary taggy thing in there.
There we go.
Just have to.
Perfect. So Venkin says, isn't it Roman and the Usos versus Fatu, the Tongans, and Solo? But they're gonna need an extra member, which is probably where Sammy comes in.
Yes.
Right? Isn't that?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's where he comes in, because we're closing in on Survivor Series, because it's just so there's obviously the Blood Money show is the second. And then what day is Survivor Series?
It is like at the tail end of the month of November, right after Thanksgiving. So that's like the last Saturday of the month. Like we're like,
and that would make sense because Full Gear is the 23rd.
Saturday before. Yeah,
right, the Saturday before. So I think that is right. Yeah, that it is. And Venkin says the thing that he thinks is the end of the month. Yeah, because then I think they were trying to separate out the weeks between the Blood Money show and the and Survivor Series, because everybody's looking for. I mean, that's what everybody has been. Everybody has known that match is coming, that it's going to be the Bloodline versus the new Bloodline, and that's the story we're telling here, and that's the match that everybody wants to see. It's probably going to be in a War Games situation, which they deserve that. They have built this story where you need to lock them in a steel cage.
Yes, for 1 hour, because we know they're going to do dramatics. And honestly, it should be the only War Games match, because I don't see anything else justifying War Games this year for anyone. I thought Judgment Day earlier this year, but no, like that's ran its course. I like the tag team for the ladies. I brainstormed that on the wrap as well. Maybe you do a War Games for that, but then I thought maybe you do a traditional Survivor Series tag team match. We need that back in the mix with some stakes involved. So yeah,
that would be great. And then to have the women do that, I think is a really smart idea. I like that. I like that a lot. And then Venkin says, yes, and then they're Halloween Havoc tonight, surprisingly. Yeah, Keila was talking about that at the very beginning about what she was looking forward to in that show, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff there. And
then they're done on Peacock, right? After December?
They still run the shows, the PLEs with WWE every month. It's interesting because the Netflix deal, which we presume once the Peacock deal is over in a couple of years, that everything migrates to Netflix unless Peacock pays more money for it.
So they're still under contract with NBC. They just also have the deal with Netflix.
I think the deal is just with
live.
Peacock,
that's correct? For like Raw and everything. So they're
yes,
still going to have the PLEs on Peacock.
Yes, and Netflix has Raw, but for NXT, the CW has streaming rights to that show and not Peacock anymore. But they still run the PLEs on Peacock.
That makes sense. I mean, that makes sense because they're different companies too. So that's so interesting. God, it's all like
it is.
Well, the whole thing, it's like almost. I mean, you wouldn't think about it because you'd be like, wait, why can't I watch my PLE on my Netflix? But it's like, no, that's not how it works, because the internet has completely changed like who gets what where, and but that's
and like I said, the Peacock deal is still in place for a couple more years, so they've got to put the PLEs.
I don't pay for it. I mean, I pay for it in so much as they give it to me as part of my internet my internet, because I have like we get because because we're PC Master Race nerds here, we get the high-speed internets. So they give it to you free with that. And also like the baseline, like network TV. So I use it, but I mean, I'll watch like WrestleMania and everything, but that's interesting because I'll still be able to catch some of those big ones that I actually, unless they go, nope, it's not free anymore. And then I won't be doing
I found out I got it free by finding out, like, after all these years, I'm a platinum member of Xfinity. I'm like, oh,
Xfinity is, yep, that's it right there. They like throw it in with most of your like anything that's like a top tier package, they toss it in there with it for free. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it. It's the ad version, but honestly, the only time that really bothers me is like I'm rewatching a series from the 90s. It's kind of hilarious to me because, you know, it's like, oh, ads. But I mean, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to give them. It's because there's not a huge amount of value in that for me because other than a couple of things, I don't watch them. But I mean, that's how I end up consuming my WWE. So it's probably smart for them to have that. I would fork that cash over.
I would too.
I mean, because people like me are actually watching PLEs for that reason. I wouldn't otherwise usually be watching WWE events, except that it's essentially free to me. And WrestleMania is WrestleMania. I mean, there's like something about like, it's because we all like do this and it's like the biggest event of the year. You kind of have to be able to at least talk about it
and know what happened and like, okay, this happened. I lived through it and it was fun. Now I watch next year.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I hate to be, I am kind of that person though. I mean, I sort of will do like maybe I like Royal Rumble, but some have been more interesting than others. But that's it. It's like WrestleMania. And Sam and I obviously watch more of the stuff that popped up around WrestleMania and the WrestleMania itself. But
yeah, we watch.
I still feel like it's one of those things, no matter what my state of mind is with it. It's like, I still feel like it's because it's still culturally relevant in pro wrestling. You almost have to watch it to be able to it's just like in terms of like, yes, I'm aware of that. And I know that these things happen. And it's because it is still the big one for us, for North America. It's like no one's going to get as excited about Wrestle Kingdom that aren't us as people are about. People.
I will always get more excited about Wrestle Kingdom.
I mean, it's amazing here because I've actually met a few people now from living around the area who were at WrestleMania 3, you know?
It's crazy.
Like the Pontiac Silverdome isn't here anymore. It's gone. Like it's been replaced, but it's amazing because it's like, oh, I was there and I was this many years old. And I'm like, that's an amazing memory that people have. Like, and it's a huge deal here that we had it. Where it's like, yes, we had that. I mean, that's, like that's a Detroit brag. That's a definite Detroit brag.
Sure. Yeah, and understandably so, especially now because of what WrestleMania has become, and like you know, and then people are like vying for it and paying a pretty penny to bring WrestleMania, and London apparently thought about it.
That's
like, nah, we're going to get the Super Bowl. We're going to work on that instead.
I mean, the Super Bowl would obviously be the bigger draw, I think.
But apparently that upsets.
I mean, don't tell a WWE fan that on the internet because they've convinced themselves otherwise. But it's like, guys, I always think of that line from Concussion, the movie, where he said, you know, the NFL stole a day of the week. It used to belong to God. Like, I always think of that as like, they still are the biggest draw. Like,
they are.
There.
Period.
They just are, even in their worst and most, like, sometimes I mean, I've like steered away from them for just, I hate their stance on things, but I can't help myself. Even I go back. Like, oh, NFL. Damn you.
The NFL beef that Mel has on this Sunday's amazing.
Damn you and your stupid hand eggs. I can't quit you. I can't quit you, okay? I can't quit it.
So Daza says that Julia, Kyrie, Sky, and Vacker are as a team in War Games. Don't care who it's again. I just want that team.
I'm into that. I would watch that.
I would love it. Like, can we do that actually?
I would watch that. That I would totally be on board for.
Me too. I would, yeah.
Let's do that show.
Let's do that. Forget the
We need Io
bloodline story.
Yes, we need Io from a cage again.
Yeah, you have to. Io from a cage that you can't have a cage match without
That'd be
that.
a big
now.
draw for them, though. That'd because it'd be kind of different, not too different, but kind of different for them because that's a pretty interesting. That's a bunch of their newer stars and people that they've gotten from like a different like stardom and so forth. I don't know that sounds like that would actually be a big draw. That'd be kind of like a unique event because of who they have right now and who they've been able to.
Right, and if we're not going to bring back an all-women show, because it doesn't seem like that's ever going to happen again.
I know. It's like, can we actually do that again? Like, what's the problem? What's the hang up?
Right.
There should be no conflict now. Good Lord.
Yeah, and you've got plenty of places to air it now.
Yes.
Do a Saturday night main event and just do an all-women show.
Yes. All these options. There's no excuse now.
Right. Yeah.
Seriously. Find a streaming service and smack it on there.
Right. I will pay for it. I will pay to watch that.
I mean,
Taza said the Io from the top of the cage with the dustbin is something I look forward to every year. Yeah, Io, that's become like Io's like Kofi thing, where like Kofi always has to, well, until he finally put a stop to it, but for years that was the thing everybody looked forward to, and now like if Io's gonna be anywhere involving a fence, a cage, anything, that's what
I mean, that her spots like that are like they remind me of like Kota Ibushi's moonsaults, like where he used to do them off of like fence posts and balconies.
Right. Well, and that goes back to Kevin Owens. We were talking about Kevin Owens earlier in the show where Kevin Owens is like, let me jump off of something high. Then that's Io's thing is like, let me jump off of a cage somewhere or jump off of something and bring a weapon with me. Because if she's gonna do it, she's gonna do it right. She's gonna do it big.
Always in style.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, there's some people that are just like you look forward to them doing it because they know what they're doing at it.
Yeah. Yes. And she's always going to find a way to innovate too. Because Io is incredible. She's amazing. Steven says that show was mythical, and it was at the time, not just in retrospect, talking about WrestleMania 3. They did an amazing job making Hogan Andre feel like the biggest battle that ever happened.
Yeah,
facts.
It's brag factor here in Detroit. I mean, it goes along with like the top, like the car and the Tigers winning in 1984 and all that stuff. Like they bring up WrestleMania 3. That is like and that happened here in Detroit. That's a Detroit thing, and it's cool. I mean, I love that. I mean, all this stuff that's like that, where you like, especially like where you are in Charlotte and things like that. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to have your little city tweaks where you're like, this was the cool thing that happened in my city that everybody remembers.
Right.
It's good. That's like the good thing. That's the America thing. That's good. That's like the fun, the cool, where it's like, these are the things that we have like culturally in common, where it's like, everybody remembers that.
Right.
I mean,
it's definitely one of those, remember, like, even if you weren't there, like, remember where you were moments, like, remember when Hogan Andre happened and things like that, and that's going to be, I mean, that's wrestling has I don't want to say a ton of those moments, but they have, like, that's just, I mean, that's obviously sports in general, that, they have that moment, that like, where were you moment, especially if it's your team or your favorite wrestler and things like that. You've got like now I have like, I was there for Sting's last match. Right. Like that's like that will be something I talk about forever, is that where were you for this, and like because that'll be the thing, and the next year's gonna be, where were you for John Cena's last match? Were you at John Cena's last match at this show? And like that, and then you've got, even with Tanahashi now, like, where were you for, like, did you get to go on the Tana retirement tour? Did you get to go to one of his final matches and stuff like that? And so it's a cool thing to have as a fan, to have those moments. And again, like I know we talk about it, and there's all kinds of opinions about CM Punk, but like when he debuted on Rampage and he came back to wrestling, like that was a moment like where a lot of wrestling fans, like, we all watched that a lot of us watched that together, and we collectively like experience that moment, which is a really cool thing to be able to see something like that. And so it's cool when wrestling, I mean, there's a lot of things to nitpick when it comes to wrestling to complain about, but sometimes it is just having those really cool moments. And I think like you said, going back to watching WrestleMania, like even if you're not watching the PLEs, like WrestleMania, I think is one of those things that you always tune in because it might be that moment. You might get to see that one cool thing that you love about wrestling. I mean, there have been some WrestleManias, the last few years, even before that, where you're just like, this is WrestleMania. Like they're putting, this is basically Raw.
Oh my God.
But yeah, and then some of them are like, and then they don't like remember. I mean, and we talk about it all the time. Like, remember in my day, WrestleMania, they'd go all out with their entrances. Like everybody had cool entrances. Everybody got new gear, and Rey Mysterio always had some like movie themed gear that he was gonna wear, and he always had and everybody had entrances. And now it's just like maybe 2 or 3 people have big entrances, which is I hate that they got away. I was like, as much as pomp and circumstance and pageantry that WrestleMania has, like I would like to see a return to everybody getting cool entrances. You've got 2 nights now. Like we're not, you could do it when you were cramming, all these matches in a 6-hour period. You still found time for it, but we're 2 nights now.
Well, there's a lot of filler that could be cut out that they could be using for that. I mean, if you're gonna because they put so many packages in there that just don't need to be there, where you could do something like what you're talking about, is go back to I mean, we can accuse AEW of the same thing a little bit, but having the people have people play them out, or Jericho plays Fozzy during AEW things. But didn't Naomi have a full orchestra at one point and for one of her entrances, and a few?
Bianca had the HBCU play her out. Cody just did that too, though, at Bad Blood in Atlanta. Cody had the HBCU that played him out, and then poor Bailey is trying her best to get Paramore.
I know.
Bless their heart. It never the timing's always off. And so this year she got permission to use their song. Is that what happened this year? Yeah. She got permission to use their song because they were working really hard to try to get Paramore to play her out. And then there was a conflict at the dates or something like that. So they're like, well, you can at least play our song on your way out. So a nice compromise. So hopefully that happens for her at some point. I'm like, stop scheduling stuff around WrestleMania, Paramore.
Damn it.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Priorities.
Come on.
Yeah. Your priority should be playing.
Does this ponytail convince you that
what
you
do you
should
mean?
play Bailey
You're
out?
gonna play a concert somewhere else. Take your and then next year, I mean, good Lord, we might have, who knows, somebody's probably going to get Megan Thee Stallion to come out with them and do the SmackDown theme live for us.
There you
Yes, live from the Sphere if they can afford it.
go. Oh my God.
Oh my God, that would be incredible.
That thing sounds so. Yeah, that's fascinating. That thing.
And then we have Steven said that he's so excited to be at match 1 of Tanahashi's first singles match on his retirement tour. Yeah, see, that's a really cool thing. I'm hoping, that's the thing, because I was like, I don't know where he's coming to, and New Japan hasn't, and they haven't ran any Charlotte shows in a couple years, and that's what I was hoping. I was like, can you just or Tanahashi wants to wrestle Shibata. That's clearly not going to happen on a New Japan show because they're they're mad at Shibata.
Their doctors.
But Tony Khan can run that show. So I'm like, please run Charlotte and run Tanahashi versus Shibata just for me, please. But that's really cool, Steven. I'm glad you get to go to that.
I feel pretty fortunate because I've at least gotten to see Tanahashi. So if I don't get to see him on his retirement tour, I have seen him. So I feel good about I mean, a couple of times now. So I mean, I've been really lucky. So
which is crazy when you think about it, that that's such a a thing that we didn't think we'd be able to do, and we've gotten to see. So a lot of us I missed because I wasn't into New Japan at the time, so I missed basically Shibata's career. I did go back and watch his final match with Okada, and so seeing him on ROH and AEW, that's something I never thought would happen. And like just being able to watch him wrestle is just, sometimes I have to stop and remember, like, he's not even supposed to be here. And if it were up to New Japan, he wouldn't be here. He would not be wrestling. And so it's just an incredible thing. And so to be able to see, I got to see, like, who thought they were going to be able to see Sting, close out his career on his own terms and get to see that. And so, John Cena is getting to do that. He gets to close out his full-time in-ring career, on his own terms. Tana is getting to do that. And, we always, but, sometimes that's just not how it works in wrestling. Sometimes things just happen, and their last match is their last match and they don't know it. And so it's really something I like that. That's one thing I like about wrestling, is being able to have this whole year of giving. We have this whole, like, basically 3 years of saying goodbye to Sting, and Danielson this year, for the most part, this was his final, for as far as we know, his final year as a in-ring talent. And sometimes some people say it's just full-time. Some say he's done for good. You never really know that. And so now we've got, and now we've got Tana. We get to see his last year, play out. And sure, it's a bit of a money grab, because you get to sell it as, go see Tana one last time. But on the other hand, like, we get to live in a time that we can go to be part of that, which is a really cool thing to be a part of. And I'm glad that, Steven, that you're getting to go to that. That's a really cool thing. And Steven said, Sam hit it on the head. I got to see Hart Austin, the I Quit match at WrestleMania 13, and I'll never forget how that match felt in person. Yeah, it's a really cool thing how, sports or wrestling can give you those moments. Just really cool. Do either of you have anything you want to add before we go on to the next topic?
I'm ready. I am ready for Sam's favorite segment of the week.
Yes.
So we we talked about this. We're just gonna call this segment now the what are we doing here segment, because I've been my friends have an ROH podcast called Honor Ramble, and they've been nice enough to let me co-host a couple times, and I noticed that I kept saying, "What are we doing here?" And the host Collins also kept saying, "What are we doing here?" And that has become a running theme of Ring of Honor, especially this year. Is, what are we doing here? So we had that. So at Wrestle Dream, obviously we had Mark Briscoe is defending his title, or was defending his ROH title against Chris Jericho. The match was already happening, and Jericho's like, "I'm going to talk shit about your dead brother that I had nothing to do with. Never wrestled him once in my career, but I'm going to invoke his name because this is wrestling," and turn into this whole unnecessary thing. I mean, the match itself, I could argue, was unnecessary to begin with, but it happened. And Mark Briscoe retained, and thankfully, because I was helping Wrestling Inc. with coverage, and they put me on that match. And so I was not in the Slack channel, and I saw the little alert go off when I had and I thought it was about the match I was getting, because they sent me the headline, and thought that's what it was. So I was slightly behind, and Jericho hit the J Driller, and I thought that, because I saw that alert without reading it, I thought the match ended there, and nearly went to full-blown rage. And I was so upset. And then of course, he ended up, Mark Briscoe did end up winning that match. Then of course, right after, Jericho's like, "No, I need a rematch. We're gonna have a ladder war match on Dynamite." And I was like, really just determined to put this stupid title on, not stupid, but they're determined to put this title on Jericho, and was not thrilled about it. Of course, ladder war is a match that is happens in Ring of Honor, not all the time, but it is an ROH, I guess you'd say a staple. And so I knew going into it what was going to happen, because I was like, there's no way they'd run this back this quick if we weren't doing a title change. So while I was super annoyed and angry with it, I was not as mad as I was at Wrestle Dream, because I was expecting it. Like, I knew this is where we were going, and it happened, and I hate it. And apparently the running theory, the reason Chris Jericho is now the Nueve, is because they're using him to get a TV deal for ROH, in the way that they use Chris Jericho to get an AEW TV deal. That's the theory of why this is happening. And I hope it better fucking work, because otherwise, what the fuck are we doing here? Putting the title on Jericho. Jericho hasn't been on Honor Club in, I don't even, he hasn't been on it since he was champion the first time. I don't even know if he remembers what Honor Club is. Mark Briscoe shows up. Like, I did come up with a theory or a new rule that I would like. It's not going to happen, but I feel like if you are going to challenge for any ROH title, you have to go to Honor Club and you have to wrestle at least a minimum of 3 weeks in a row. Ideally like 5 or 10, but we can barely get the champions on Honor Club as it is. So I'll settle for a 3 match minimum. You have to 3 consecutive weeks in a row, then you can challenge for the title. You have to be on Honor Club. We have to see those. It doesn't count if it's on AEW programming. It has to be on Ring of Honor programming. That is what I proposed to Tony Khan if he somehow gets back to him. that has to be the thing. But yeah, so I don't know if either of you have anything to weigh in here with Jericho being champion once again.
Well, allow me to make the hot tag. I am
Please do.
Sam. Sam is me. I hate this with every fiber of my soul. I watched Dynamite and I was appalled because didn't we do this like a year ago when he was the Ocho and you tried to elevate Ring of Honor off of Jericho's name and it really didn't amount to much? So we're trying again and he's a year older. Why are we doing this? Maybe, Tony, and I love you, maybe you should just show the Honor Club package to people you're trying to shop this to and say, this is Ring of Honor. This is what makes us great. Give us $15 million. Put us somewhere. Put us on Max. Put us on TNT. Put us on True TV. Put us on FS1. Why are we doing this in 2024 with Chris Jericho as a champion of anything? With all due respect to him, we've been there, done that. I'm done. I saw this a year ago. He was the Ocho. Great. So glad Claudio beat him for the championship. Who's going to beat Jericho again to become the new Ring of Honor champion? Will it be Mark Briscoe? I don't know. But I sat there watching Dynamite and I said, what are we doing in 2024 again? If you're shopping Ring of Honor, shop the merits of the content itself and not the guy. A 55-year-old Jericho is not going to give you a TV deal. Let's be for real.
Yeah, exactly.
God,
like
Keila just nailed it.
I
mean, there's
you
like
have Athena. You've had her breaking records. Everything she has done in the last 2 years has been historic. That should be a selling point. Sell Athena. Sell her title run. Sell her becoming the longest reigning ROH champion of all time.
Well, the only people that want to buy the product are people that are going to find Jericho interesting. It's not going to be an ROH crowd following that. Like, it's just not, because Keila just said it. Like, we're done. It's great, but he's done, and he's Jericho, but it's like it's run its course more than enough.
Yes.
To me, I would think that is not a selling point at all. And to me, that's not
he's already
forward.
got people changing the channels on AEW.
To me, it's just a lateral move. It's not even like, why should I pick that up? You're just showing me AEW light instead of making. Tony bought ROH. He bought all the stuff that went with ROH. He has all the ROH wrestlers. There's like so many people that are still on there that are classic, well-known, like ROH people. And then Athena has built her own brand on there that you could easily that to me is a better pitch
than Jericho. I mean,
go find a younger group of people and say, look at Athena and look what she's been doing. And if the only people that you can find to buy ROH are people that want Jericho on top, then maybe this wasn't such a good idea, and you should get your wrestlers that are really good on Dynamite or Rampage, or Rampage is going away, but Dynamite and Collision, and I don't know, use ROH as a developmental or do your own. But just
I mean, they do kind of do it as some of it is a kind of a developmental. It is kind of, it has aspects of dark and elevation, first of all, because
But
only
only
a
up to a
certain
certain
group, only a
point.
certain group of us are watching it as it is.
Yeah.
And then
All 12
you
of
do
you.
have, like, I mean, that's where you were like, that's where they were building up the infantry. They were building up
Yeah.
before their, you know, Anthony Henry has been, and Anthony Henry and JD Drake have both been hit hard with injuries this year. Anthony is
Yeah.
injured once again. He got injured in the match with Gabe Kidd 2 weeks ago. And so like but when they were healthy, like you had the workhorsemen, you were building up. Top Flight went and did a lot of work down there. And even where that's where they were bringing in Action Andretti, and they built up of some of the other women. I mean, we have Billy is down there, and they've got Diamante and Layla Hirsch, and like you have all of these people that you could be building up and to be working with. And like Abaddon's been down there, and Abaddon is chasing Athena right now, because Athena won't admit it, but Athena is afraid of them. And so like they're doing these things. And then you have Lee Moriarty, who is your pure champion, and Lee is incredible. And like Shane Taylor is who should be the champion. Shane Taylor he is one of the best talents ROH has had in recent years. He's one of the best 6-man champions they ever had. He was one of their best TV champions. And he challenged Mark Briscoe several months ago, but then he got injured, and they didn't since he's been cleared, they never revisited it, I guess, because the plan is, it's funny. And going back to this theory of Jericho being who they're trying to use him to be a selling point, which would not surprise me. I have a feeling that's what they're doing, but it's funny because I asked Tony on the media call, is ROH going to TV? Were they a part of this deal? And he took a very long time to get to answering my actual question. And then finally he says, well, there are a lot of reports that were correct, but there are a lot of things that were wrong. And he claimed that ROH was never part of the deal. He doesn't know where that came from. But I had somebody in my DMs telling me that that was not true, that ROH was part of the deal for at least a month or so, and then it fell apart. And so I do think that there is some merit behind the idea that Jericho, that's what they think Jericho will help them get a deal in going into 2025. It's not a good idea for them to do that, but I can see that being their reasoning for doing this. But it just, I was like, so that kind of proves my point. They were going to be on TV, but what you presented them was not enough, which I don't know what the hell you presented them if it's not Athena.
Exactly.
FS1 would want. I feel like FS1 would want an Athena program more than a Jericho program, because they're trying to appeal to younger, more like a more diverse younger audience or something. Right. So that's like a whole new idea where you've got this woman who's got minions and all of these things that she's going
right.
on. And Shane Taylor's another one that guy's just so charismatic, and he's got his faction. And
yeah,
I mean, and I love the infantry is like they sell themselves.
Yeah,
just
they're
watch
incredible.
them.
And then
they're
you've
amazing.
When you book Trish Adora, you've got Trish, who is incredible, and she's part of the infantry, and you've got her that you could be utilizing all of these things that you already have. You don't know. I mean, and they've got MX kind of doing
fresher
both.
to me than Jericho. And maybe I'm crazy, and maybe I'm not. I mean, I'm obviously not a TV executive, and they have no idea what they're looking at a lot of times when it comes to this sort of thing, because they're like, what's that crazy fake fighting stuff? But I don't know. I feel like a younger audience now, like Jericho's got to seem washed up to a certain age group, right? I mean,
well, you've got, when you look at it, you've got John Cena who is retiring. You've got Tanahashi who's retiring, but then you're putting titles on Chris Jericho. And when Jericho has, I don't want to say overstayed his welcome.
He has.
But I mean,
that's
probably the best way to say it. And Jericho is somebody that I've watched for a really long time. And I was a Jericho fan for a very long time.
Me too.
And then, I mean, even taking away some of the outside things that he's associated with, just looking at him as a wrestler. And I feel like for a certain group of us, he is tarnishing everything that he built and everything, because Jericho has been one to constantly reinvent himself and move ahead in the business. And then the learning tree is not even his. Like the learning tree was done in TNA, and Impact did this with Brian Myers. It's not even a brand new. And I get it. Wrestling is not necessarily always brand new concepts. You repeat, you and do your own thing. But like he literally is doing Brian Myers' gimmick from a few years ago.
Yeah, it's getting a little Impact Noni.
And then you've got, and you put, I get putting Big Bill with him because they don't really have a lot to do with him. And Bill, I think, is doing the best that he can. And he is really, he's really stood out. And, we saw the reaction he got in Cardiff. I think a lot of it is because he's associated with Jericho, but none of us expected the reaction that Big Bill got.
It's a little of both, though, because I think those big guys, those guys like him that are really putting the work in are really tend to be over with like, I can see that guy being huge over an OTT. Also, I can see them getting pretty crazy about Finn Balor was on. I'm sorry, Prince Devitt was on the OTT show last night, and apparently he was quite over, as you would imagine.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, when you return to your like homeland, you're pretty much gonna be.
God over there.
It was good. Yeah. I was just happy to hear that he actually got to do an indie show like that.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's huge.
Okay, well, that's a huge change. That's a lot of fun.
For real, because I did not even see that coming. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's one of my friend who lives there. He's like, so Finn Balor, Prince Devitt was over last night. And I was like, oh crap. Wow. All right. That's fantastic that they're letting them do that. That's
awesome. That's been like one of the theories is wondering, because they asked Tana, like, do you think you'll get to wrestle Shinsuke, on your retirement tour? And he was like, I would love to, but I just don't know. And I could see maybe it happening in Noah, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like if
gotta be money in that for though. Come on, that's a big money match.
Yeah, and it's a year out, and anything can happen. I honestly believe they would do a solid. It's a year out, and I do feel they would do that because of what Shin meant to New Japan. It wouldn't shock me. It'll break the internet when it happens.
For sure.
They would actually do it.
Yeah, I really hope that they do. I think Tana deserves it. I think Shinsuke deserves it too, but I think Tana deserves that.
I know previous management would never have allowed it.
Yeah.
It seems like the current scheme is like, okay, well, for the really big money stuff, like, because they did for the Muda show and they made some deals with that, and they get something for what they give. So it's not as if you're getting it for free. Not just the money portion. A lot of times you're getting like exchange.
They'll do some kind of a talent exchange for
it's smart business in this day and age. If just because wrestling, the popularity of wrestling is enough, there's enough crossover. So
and Steven says, they let
freaking just buttload of money on that.
Actually. Steven said they let Nakamura wrestle Muto, so it's more than possible that would have been 3 years ago. And like Keila said, there's a year out. We're a year out from this. Yep. They could make it work. Whether it's in, New Japan would be ideal, but I could also see perhaps Noah being where they host this. I do think if he wrestles Shibata, it'll be an AEW show. I don't think it'll be, because Forbidden Door would be right there, but apparently they're still really upset. With Shibata. And so it sounds like, and Tony would do it. Tony will do, I think, anything that Tana asked him to do, because they have such a good relationship and he thinks so highly of Tana. And if Tana wants one last dream match with Shibata and that's the only place it can happen, then Tony Khan is gonna make it happen. So hopefully,
if they're not going to be able to do the crossover, you'd have to do something like Revolution or maybe Full Gear.
And they could easily do that. They could, and so that's what I'm wondering, because Tana said that we'll be as things go, we'll be finding out kind of what Tana's final schedule is.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that he has a match at the Tokyo Dome. He is wrestling Evil at Wrestle Kingdom next year. So we do know that that's going to be the first match. Well, at least starting out, I guess
one of the matches.
One of the first ones. And so, they could easily just bring him over for a few episodes and have him come out. And you could do Revolution. You could even do like Dynasty or Dynasty. You could do the April show. There's plenty of, AEW has plenty of shows now where you could run this. It should be on a pay-per-view. You could do a random Dynamite, but I think, you could do a Beach Break. I think you could do You could do one of those special shows. You could do Fight for the Fallen. I think
They
would
always do Beach Break in the middle of like February or March in the Great Lakes. I'm like,
Right.
guys, nobody's going to Lake Michigan or Lake Erie or Lake Superior.
Sure they are. We saw Ricky Starks and Powerhouse.
I know, they were right there.
No.
They were at the part, though, that no one would jump in whether it was cold or warm. So it's not really like a fair assessment. It's like, you got to go somewhere where you could actually swim in the water before I actually believe you're like,
somewhere you can put a ring in the middle of the water. Is what they really should do. And then I imagine this is thinking of Ricky Starks that made me think the other night. I will tell you this because I had the MGF dreams and he eventually came back. I dreamed that Ricky Starks wrestled for AEW. I don't know where it was. I don't know. It was the lights went out. He was not like in a House of Black type of thing. The lights just kind of went down and you could see the figure of someone and the lights came back up and it was Ricky Starks. So I was like, please be foretelling that this man is not going to just sit in catering for another year while his contract, where we are wasting this man's career. And please let this be real. Please bring him back. Please book him. And please,
the ROH championship.
Please, I mean, talking about Ring of Honor, we were like the other night. So they're doing this thing, which I kind of like, but it's also not the best idea. The last few weeks, they've been airing like one classic match in the middle of ROH. Like, so they did one of the last ones they did right before Wrestle Dream was a classic Danielson match, which I appreciate because it was Danielson versus Kenta from like 2014, I think, and I'd never seen the match before. So I was like, it saves me trouble from having to like, not that it's hard to go like look up these matches, but like I can like it, I don't have to go out of my way to go find this match. And so I appreciated that. But then the match is over and then they go into the main event, and this is not to take away from any of the current ROH talent that's there, but then you see like the vibe of that show and then the vibe of what you're currently doing, and they are not the same. And you are showing people, hey, ROH used to be a big fucking deal. Like this was the show to go to. This was it. Like all kinds of magic and special things happen here, and now we're getting 4-minute matches, and we're doing
now back to your regularly scheduled.
We're doing premier athletes on both Honor Club and 13. If they wrestled last night, that's 14 weeks in a row that they have been on Collision. Then the Kingdom have constantly gone back and forth, and that does not take away anything from their talent, but it's just oversaturation. But so it's you're showing these things, and so this week. So this week we finally got Athena's celebration from breaking Samoa Joe's record, like nearly a month later. Okay. They finally.
I thought she was going to break another record before they actually had.
She's getting close to it. she's closing in on 700 days as champion. So I think she will be closing in on Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe's record. No, I'm sorry, not Mark Briscoe. It was I think it was Jay Lethal. The combined reigns of his TV title.
I was worried they were like waiting until she won like literally all the ROH matches ever. And
Listen,
then
I will take if that's what it takes to get Athena some recognition.
They better have a celebration at that point because then she's literally beat everybody, and it's like
I've heard. I mean, they just did it with Nina Samuels where she had 10 titles. So like, just put all the titles on Athena, ROH and AEW, every single one of them. All of them, put them on her. But so yeah, they did. But before they did the segment, they showed the match where she beat Mercedes Martinez to become champion, which was a great match. And then also reminded me once again, where is Mercedes Martinez? She's not injured. She's doing indies. She's involved in a storyline in a West Coast indie. So I don't know if there's been any falling out with her and Tony, or he's just not booking her. So she's apparently healthy. I know she did have some health issues or injuries that she was dealing with, but like she's cleared. So like, why are you not using Mercedes Martinez? Like this is insane. And so they showed that, and then we get we got the segment with her and Billy and Lexi, and she had been telling Lexi that she wanted Ja Rule to come perform, and did not happen. She was very upset about that. And then she blamed Billy for it, even though Lexi is the one who planned everything. So they've been, I told you they've been planting seeds for Billy to finally turn on Athena and set up the match, which what I think is how they're going to close Final Battle, is Billy is finally going to defeat Athena. And that's the story we're telling here. And so finally Billy turns on her. She's like, I've had enough. You blame me for everything. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of this. And so she just leaves. And then Lexi is like flabbergasted, and all of them, they're like, I can't believe this happens. And she's like, you didn't even get, and so Lexi's like, you didn't even get to see the gift that we got you. And so she pulls the black bag, and it's a custom. Athena has a custom spinner belt. She said on Twitter that her number one minion, her husband Matthew Palmer, who just happens to be the slate for in this picture, or that we're using for the show of Frankenfurter at the beginning. Frankenfurter at the beginning is Matthew Palmer, who was Athena's husband, but he got her a custom spinner belt to celebrate her. And the belt looks amazing. So have that. And so that was Athena's whole big celebration, which I guess, Mariah May has not had her celebration yet for winning the title. So I don't know why we're doing that in two companies at the same time that are both owned by Tony Khan. I don't know what we're doing here. Again, what are we doing here? the theme of ROH. And then even and I've got a little sidetracked talking about the past matches, but they did it. I watched last week's episode this week. I didn't get to it. And so the classic match was the Young Bucks versus the Briscoes versus SoCal Uncensored.
Ooh.
Where is Scorpio Sky? It's where I keep asking all the time. We got 2 random vignettes from him.
I found Waldo at the fair before Sam was able to find Scorpio Sky on an AEW television.
Where is Scorpio Sky? Why are we not put him in ROH if you have to? Use it. And they even hinted before Ethan Page left, they hinted at a Men of the Year reunion in ROH, and that they might go for the titles, and then nothing came of it. In part it was because Ethan Page, we found out later, had asked for his release, so that did not come through. But they've done these. They did the vignette 2 weeks before all in, and then of course they were and so we were oh well, and I was well, maybe they didn't want to bring back Scorpio the night they were debuting Ricochet, and then just there's nothing that's happened. They aren't showing anything related to Scorpio Sky. I don't know if he's just, I guess him and Ricky Starks are just hanging out in AEW oblivion. And I don't know how much longer Scorpio has on his contract. It might be Ricky has under contract, I think, until I think it was well into next year, or it's 2026. So Scorpio, I don't know what his contract situation is, but I hate that they're not using him in the meantime. Me too, Nikki. I miss Scorpio so much too. And then that match just made me miss him. And I was like, what are we doing here, Tony? Besides pissing me off. What are we doing here? All right. I guess unless there's any other unless there's any other wrestling stories I missed. Speaking of Motor City winning the tag team titles, I did see that the Hardy Boys won the tag team titles in TNA.
Yeah,
so
I saw that
two of my all-time favorite tag teams won titles 24 hours apart in their respective companies. And so I'm very, very happy about that. So good for the Hardys. I haven't watched TNA in a very long time. I have a bunch of them. Actually, I think since
that show was here. I just wasn't able to get to it because money and time.
Right.
But I believe that show was.
I heard they had a really good turnout.
I heard it was a really good show. It looked, from my wrestling people that were online talking about being there, it looked like they had a lot of fun. So
yeah, I think the only there's from what I saw from Mike Gilbert, the big super disappointment was they've been building up Joe Hendry to beat Nick Nemeth, and he didn't.
Ooh.
It's are you punishing him?
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
He's gonna go to WWE as soon as he can.
Oh, and you got to be careful with Detroit crowds because a lot of times they see through the BS. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear their reaction if they were mad about that.
Oh, apparently it was. And then I saw somebody say that they followed up the women's match with that because apparently Jordan versus Masha was excellent. Masha won the title last night. I heard overall the show was really good, but then a lot of people were pissed off that what happened in the main event, especially because they have been building Joe Hendry to take that title, and Bound for Glory is one of their biggest shows of the year.
Because they haven't been back here in a really long time either. I guess this is the first time they've been back in a really long time. So people were super excited to have it here. So
yeah, I think it said, who doesn't belt Joe Hendry? TNA apparently. And yes, I'm really happy for the Hardys too. I've heard that the Hardys have been doing really well in TNA, that they've been really healthy. They've been having great matches. They've kind of toned down some of their high flying stuff and wrestled more to their not their capabilities, but they aren't like going out there doing the insane things that we've seen them do for decades. That they're
not continuing to try and kill themselves because we don't need
right. Yeah. And I heard that the fans were really, really happy with them winning last night. So I'm very glad that they have been able to figure it out, that Jeff has been able to stay clean, and sober. We've both been able to stay healthy. I am so happy for them. I've been a fan of them for a very, very long time. And so I hate the way things ended in AEW. I understand, obviously, the reason things went the way that they went. So I'm just glad that they were able to do that. And, they're kind of getting to do things on their own terms. Of course, there's been rumors that they may go back to WWE and retire there, which would not surprise me one bit. I think regardless of where they end their career, they have their first ballot Hall of Famers. Like they're just there. And now at this point, they're probably TNA Hall of Famers. They have both spent a great deal of time of their, throughout their careers. And then now getting this moment and getting this, I hope that leads that eventually they're going to get that they'll be Hall of Famers in TNA as well. Because I think they deserve it. So I hope that happens for them.
Me too, absolutely. And I think the TNA has been a great place of reinvention for both of them, especially for Matt with the broken gimmick that he found himself in TNA. It wasn't WWE or AEW, it was TNA that gave him the creative freedom to dive into that character. And Jeff with Nero too, like he was able to just expand his imagination into what he wanted to be. And I would love to actually see the crossover of them still being in TNA, going to NXT. That would be cool before they really resign to end their careers.
Yeah, I would love to see them have an NXT run. That would be a lot of fun. And to see, especially
I would enjoy it. And I bet all those wrestlers in there would be freaking.
They would freaking love it. They'll geek out.
Like, I was going to say, I'm wrestling my heroes now.
Right. To wrestle some of those younger teams, I think would be really cool. And then I hope that at some point that they run back a match with Motor City.
I was just going to say, because that leads you right there, and that match is money.
That would make that I would probably explode watching that match.
You might.
I would love it. I would love to see that match. I hope that we get it.
We're like, oh no, we just proved spontaneous human combustion. Crap. We didn't want to do it that way. That's not how it's supposed to work.
At least it would go out on a good note, I guess.
You would be happy. I mean, at least you combusted doing what you love.
This is true. This is true. David, we were actually just talking about that. Joe Hendry did not become the new champion last night. Nick Nemeth retained the title. Unfortunately, a lot of people were very upset about that because Joe Hendry was set up to win, and the TNA'd. And yes, Halloween Havoc is tonight, and Keila will have a post match about that, not live, but they will be recording, and then it will go up on the Fight Game Media audio network. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can check her and Salty Scott. I'm sure they're going to have also. I think you're going to be highly entertained. Maybe a little freak. Maybe have a little scary. Maybe a little spooky things happen.
Yes, I expect less camp, but I expect more violence.
Yeah. Yes, and as expected. I mean, at Halloween Havoc, you gotta. Yeah, I saw some
pumpkin.
of that too about Frankie Kazarian, about him winning last night. Yeah, some people were saying that they thought Joe Hendry was going to win, and then like Kaz was going to immediately cost him the title, or that yeah, that's what I had heard too, that they thought that Kaz was going to get involved, and people were saying that if that was the case, that they were never going to belt Joe Hendry, that they should have done, I guess because of the story they've been telling with Kaz, that it should have been him. And basically it sounds like Nick Nemeth should have lost the title regardless, and he has whatever story they're telling. I don't know if he's just worn out his welcome, or just because of the way they've built it, that either Kaz or Joe Hendry should have been the champion after last night. And unfortunately that is not the case. So okay, let's see here. So I think we have reached, unless there's any other wrestling things that we need to talk about. Yeah, I heard about that too, that JBL apparently JBL, I guess, I'm not keeping up with this. I know JBL keeps showing up in places and not minding his business, but then apparently he did hit Ryan Nemeth in the face, and somebody said he turned heel and then immediately turned babyface by punching the younger Nemeth brother in the face. So there's that. And then you have apparently Bully Ray's getting involved over in GCW. I've not been keeping up as closely lately, but now he's involved, which I do not like at all. Do not need to see Bully Ray or JBL in 2024.
There's a couple of names that Sam
just
doesn't
like
need to
Chris
hear
Jericho.
about.
Yeah, just like Chris Jericho. I don't need JBL.
Don't need JBL.
And I don't need Bully Ray in my wrestling at all. Nikki said, I need this man to go away. Wrestling doesn't need JBL. Apparently some of these people think so. I don't know why they do. He's a mean bully. And
some people can't let go of the past. They're too afraid.
Yeah, and wrestling fans, we know they love their nostalgia.
Oh boy.
For better
Member
or
berries
worse.
are strong up in here.
I still haven't gotten a chance to check out Maple Leaf Pro. I'm hoping that maybe after I have surgery and I have some downtime, I can get caught up on that, because I heard both of those shows were incredible last weekend, and I heard Morrow did excellent, and I heard that there was just all that I'd heard all. But see, I think Bully Ray ended up having a match on the Sunday show, and everybody's like, this card is perfect except that. And then I heard some people say it was basically a TNA show with AEW wrestlers, which, you know, Scott D'Amore had some really good stuff in Impact. Some of it missed, but some of it in Impact was really good. And so I like Scott D'Amore. I like the work that he does for the most part. So regardless of whatever Bully Ray stuff that they did, I hope he's very successful, and I really, really look forward to watching those. I tried to avoid I mean, which is no surprise to anyone, that Takesha's matches were incredible. He wrestled night one, he wrestled Speedball. Bailey.
So that was on that show. That's what it was just.
Yeah, and then night two,
I do want to watch that match.
Yes, and then night two, he wrestled Josh Alexander and put the international championship on the line. And then I know in the match with Speedball, if Speedball won that match, then he got a future title shot there. And then also Athena defended her title against Giselle Shaw on the Sunday show, which was really cool that she got to do that. So I'm excited. I heard that match was really, really good too. I've heard a lot of people say to go out of your way and watch it. But so I've heard nothing but positive things other than Bully Ray being involved. I heard really good things, so good for them. I hope that Scott D'Amore does well. Nikki said JBL blocked me because I said I hated the way he yelled WWE wrestler's nickname. Oh, he blocked me because I called him out for being a bull tomorrow, and he blocked me. So, worth it. But now with the way the person who runs that app
and wear that block with pride, even
block will be going away.
Only sort of blocked.
Yeah.
But I'm not supposed to see his stuff because he blocked me. That should have worked out to my benefit.
One would think.
Oh, God.
One would think. All right,
America, the only place where a super rich guy can buy a freaking social media company to tank it because he's bored. Because he's mad his ex blocked him and he can't see what she says.
So now he's getting rid of the
I
block
want to have
button.
so much money that I can be like so petty that I can go out and buy $1 billion social media company just to be a twat about it. No, I don't really, but it makes me crazy because the reason that I can't stand that guy more than anything is that he literally, like, the universe gave him this money and it's like, you're out there like creating like innovations and doing all this stuff. Like, why?
Because he has a fragile ego.
For? What is this
it's all a fragile ego that he has.
Oh my gosh, that just screams like insecure little kid. It's just like
he
with
shows
way
it every
too
day.
much money. Go build more satellites or something, damn it.
I mean, that is a true horror show here. But I guess the time is now to move into.
That was a terrifying segue.
Terrifying segue is into our Halloween horror movie. So if you have not watched our Halloween live stream before, this is the third one that we've done, and we've been so lucky to have Keila involved in all three of these and helped us craft this story that we make a Halloween movie. We have a cast of wrestlers that change every year. And then we ask questions and kind of do prompts and create our own horror story. So this year this is going to be your cast. So we have Joe Hendry, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Zarya, who is the former Delta, but they could not trademark Delta. So Zarya is her new name in NXT world. Harley Cameron, who I felt was perfect for a horror film. And then Nikki suggested RJ City when I mentioned Harley. So we have RJ City and then Mina Shirakawa and Thekla. So these are our cast members that we have here. And then so we will start with out of this cast, who do we think dies first? And I can read the cast member names to you again. So we have Joe Hendry, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Zarya, Harley Cameron, RJ City, Mina Shirakawa, and Thekla.
I mean, it would be a trope, but like RJ City. It would be such a trope, but
RJ gave you Tony versus Mariah.
See, RJ, when I was looking at RJ, I was like, RJ either is the guy to go first, or he's the guy that like figures it all out. Like there's no two ways with him. He's either like the guy that figures it all out, like Inspector Gadget or something, or like RJ
has a serious background in like old TV and movie classics. He was the architect of the Tony versus Mariah story. He's word on the street says he's involved in this John Moxley story.
Awesome.
But then he also has Hey W, where
he's a big and
where
mean,
some
him and Renee are so
tolerate
goofy and funny that they
There
could
was
definitely solve mysteries like the Scooby Gang. But
there was a clip from today's show that I saw, and because Yuka Sakazaki was his guest, and she murdered him in her imagination, and it was a very gory scene that they showed. So it could play into that. That kind of plays into this theory of RJ City. I mean, Yuka is not, I think Yuka was in a previous story. She is not in our current story, but so RJ City did die on Hey W in Yuka's story this morning. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Vidkin agrees that it should be RJ City. Nikki said that she thinks Harley Cameron would be our first victim. Keila, what do you say?
Oh man, this is such a tough decision. And I adore this person so much. He's so nice. He's so sweet. That's why he must die first. Alex Shelley, you must die. He's too nice.
Yeah, I had a feeling when you started saying, I was like, it's gonna be Alex. He's a precious soul.
he really nice. Yeah, you're not right. I mean, he's like oh man.
Poor Alex. Well, I'm glad you got your title.
He tried to like talk
before.
the murderer down or something
In
and
the
ended up
nicest
getting
way,
him.
like, please don't kill me. I have a family. I have a lot to live for, and I'm the
I can't
nicest
leave Chris
guy.
Sabin behind.
No, he's my best friend, and he needs me. So please spare me. And then he gets gutted like a fish. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, it's like the hook on General
She
Hospital.
might be. I mean, I might have to. I mean,
Don't want to trigger Keila though.
he was definitely on the like
That terrible story.
early list just because he is such a sweet person. That
Nikki said, she said, "Oh, I can see this. He'd die trying to save someone. He was probably trying to save Chris.
Yes.
so.
That's probably what happened. He was
All right, so
Chris
we'll go
was
with
gonna,
Alex.
Chris probably was going to be one of the first ones because he also is apparently extremely nice, and he probably would have been the first one. And Alex sacrificed himself for Chris. I could see that also being the case. Is it's that, and so who do people think is the murderer, but is actually innocent? And I can give you names again if we need them.
Yes.
Okay, names again. All right, so we have Joe Hendry, no longer Alex Shelley, probably. Maybe Chris Sabin. Zarya, Harley Cameron, and RJ are still kind of in the scenario, unless you are one of the viewers who picked them. The Mina Shirakawa and Thekla.
Joe Hendry's innocent.
People think he's a murderer because he's got that like creepy, like
the smile,
scary, like he could be like the psycho guy that's like, oh no, look at this handsome exterior behind it. And they're like, it's you, dude. But he's not.
But he's not. And then Venkin says that Venkin says it's Harley, that Harley would be the one that people think is the killer, but she's actually innocent. Yeah, I could see Harley. Might.
When I was,
but Harley also might annoy the killer to the point that the killer is just like. Not
well, I always felt like for Zarya or Thekla, because they can be so scary that people would think them, but that would be like
right
again where it was
that
like
would be playing
too obvious. But it's like, well, it's got to be these big scary girls over here that are doing their scary thing, and it's like, well, no, that seems too obvious,
right?
So
right. Exactly. And Nikki said, "Way to go, Chris," about getting Alex Shelley murdered.
Oops. God, you killed your bestie in the first act, dude. What happened?
You're brand new here. All right. So we have, are we ready to move on to the next question?
Sure.
Okay. Who outsmarts the killer?
Harley.
Yeah. That's what I'm leaning towards too.
Yeah. Yes. I think I think
she's
it would be
earned like outsmart the killer vibe.
I think that Mina could be really good at outsmarting the killer. I think Mina is smarter than people give her credit for. They look at her, they think that she is just beauty. She's not a good wrestler. They think she likes to kiss Mariah and drink champagne, and that she'd be an easy target. But I think that Mina is smarter than people give her credit for, and I think that Mina could outsmart a killer. And so Venkin agrees that Mina could outsmart a killer. And if you are ready, we will move on to the final question of who is our mastermind and who is our killer.
See, this is where I think Mina comes into play as the murderer, and Harley outsmarts her because they don't think that she can outsmart Mina. And Mina is actually the mastermind of our Halloween Scream movie.
Keila, what are your thoughts?
You are selling me on Mina because she's very crafty, very sneaky. I like it. She'd be underestimated as the mastermind of all of this. So I definitely see the person being her that could outsmart everyone in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Originally I thought Harley would be the one to outsmart because you never know what she's thinking and what she is doing and what she's going to say. But now, the more we talk about it, I thought Harley was going to be our mastermind, which I still think she could, because Harley is she's just Harley. But I could see her being the one that she figures out that Mina is the one behind all of it, and she is the one who outsmarts her, and she stays alive, and she puts an end to Mina. I think I could see that being how that plays out. And then Nikki. Oh, this is a good theory. Nikki says RJ City because he's way smarter than people give him credit for. Plus, he probably killed people in the old movie themes.
I had thought about that at one point where I was like, it could be the opposite, where it ends up being that RJ is like the mastermind because you think he's so. You're like, oh,
I could also see RJ and Mina being in cahoots together and like devising this plan. And then Harley figures it out and she murders RJ.
Everyone. She and Chris Sabin lay the smackdown on everybody else. And...
Then we still have Thekla and Zarya. Hopefully they were able to escape. Maybe they escaped. Maybe they didn't die. Maybe they didn't figure out who the mastermind was, but maybe because they were presumed to be the murderers, maybe they just got the hell out of there and like, well, people think it's us. We're going to leave. And then people are still going to die. And then they'll realize that it's not us. We did not.
The ones that make it back to the sheriff and they're like, yeah, don't go back to that place.
He could see Thekla as the killer. I mean, she certainly could. She definitely could, especially if she's got Clark Connors in her.
Ooh.
Oh, that's very true. Her gimmick is the idol killer. And she could go right for Mina. She could, that's an interesting theory. And
they could be running like
nope.
Both of them are running schemes at the same time, and they run into each other, and then they have to defeat each other in a final battle, in a final boss battle.
Not to be confused with ROH's final battle,
right? In a
the final battle
mastermind of the murder movie battle to the finish.
It could happen, and it could still happen in Hammerstein. I mean, Final Battle hasn't ran Hammerstein in a while, and I keep fussing about that, but that's another. We're gonna add Tony to the story at some point. It's funny with all these characters. I actually consider, because I was talking about Scorpio, about him, and I was thinking, I was like, you could almost make and I was trying to think of who I was gonna add to the cast. I was like, you could almost just make a cast of people that Tony's not using, and just be like Ricky Starks, Scorpio Sky, both Lucha Brothers, Miro. I mean, obviously 3 of them are trying to get out of there, but still. So you've got Miro. There's somebody else that Wardlow is supposedly dealing with some injuries related or concussion things related to the car incident, the car accident a few months ago. So there's kind of some rumors that that's why he's not been there. But even still, like, you could use Wardlow. It's like, look at all these AEW wrestlers that you could put as cast members because Tony's not using them. I mean, I guess you could say it's the same for WWE. They probably have some wrestlers that they aren't using either. But oh, Nikki said, yeah, Ty. Yes, Ty Mello she's cleared, not back yet. But she's cleared to come back. She's been cleared for several months, and they brought in Penelope before her, which is interesting. But I guess it's because creative had something for her, and maybe they don't have anything for Ty right now. Venkin says Ty hasn't been in AEW for a while. No, she hasn't been since before she gave birth. But she has been cleared for like 2 months, I think, 2 or 3 months. Julia Hart was on. She did an autograph signing for High Spots this week, and she is cleared. And has been cleared for, I don't know for how long, but she's also been cleared. And she also said, they had a picture, an 8x10 of her in her cheerleader gimmick. And she said that she was never, ever going back to that gimmick. You will never see her. She said you will never see her in cheerleader gear again.
I like her new gimmick anyway.
I do too. I feel like,
I mean, that's my vibe, but I like her hat and her, she just like being that she's basically the head of House of Black. So.
She is I agree. She's the leader of House of Black. She
kind of is in her way. Just, Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want her. I mean, I thought that, Julia did really good with that because I mean it played into it because she, with her her background as a cheerleader and stuff. But I think that was the old version of Julia, and I think she's really seemed to have found herself as a person and as a character with the current way we see her. And Daza says that Thekla would be awesome in AEW. Yes, I've only seen a little bit of her, but I like what I have seen of her, and I'm excited for her match at the crossover show with her and Clark Connors. I think that's a really fun team. I think that could be, they could do some really cool stuff with that. So I'm looking forward to it. Nice. Well, all right. So I believe that that ends that edition of Powerbombshells Halloween horror movie. And yes, thank you, Venkin, that they are wrestling Natsupoi. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. And Tai Chi. Yes. Yeah, they're having some fun matches, and I saw that I haven't watched it. But I saw the tag tournament started. The Super Juniors tag title for New Japan just started. I think like the last day or so. So that's going on, and I'm super excited that Kushida and Kevin Knight have those tag titles. Oh, cool. I love them. They won the titles at the King of Pro Wrestling. They beat War Dogs for the title, and so that'll be fun having, because War Dogs is in that tag tournament, so that should be a lot of fun. And Daz says, and again, I apologize if I say her name incorrectly because I've seen it spelled, but I don't think I've heard it pronounced. But Natsupoi would be big if she comes to America. I'm not familiar with her. I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with her work. But I will take for the ones who watch it closely and who know, I definitely value your opinion when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I will definitely take your word for that. And I would love to see some more Stardom women come over and get to see what they can do. They're always good.
The ladies have been awesome.
Yes. Oh, I bet she does. Venkin says Julia knows her well. I bet she does.
Yeah, they had a huge feud, I think, before they left.
Okay.
Or before Julia left. I think that was a big giant feud between the two of them. So they were pretty much on top of everything, if I remember correctly. I mean, I see it vaguely in the background, and I see Scott's posts, or I see because Chris crosses with the Wrestle Universe stuff sometimes. So
oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. She turned on Julia.
That's it.
Says. And Daza said she's the cutest wrestler in the world and a badass. Oh. What a great combination.
That's an excellent combination.
That's a pretty great one. And he said, and left to go with Tam, who was Julia's biggest rival. Right. I did know that that was her biggest rival, but I did not know that she turned on Julia and went with Tam. Ooh, that's spicy.
That's why we need you guys here.
Yes.
We appreciate that you show up both for your questions and for your information.
Yes. Yes, very good. All right. Well, unless I know sometimes comments come through late, so but we will I think we'll end it here unless anybody has anything else they would like to add. And then we'll make sure that you go go listen to the wrap when it is up on the Fight Game Media audio feed, and listen to their thoughts on Halloween Havoc, which I'm sure will be incredible. And then you can follow Fight Game Media on Twitter, and you can subscribe right here on our YouTube channel. And then you can follow Powerbombshells on Twitter and on Instagram at Powerbombshells. And Mel will be back next Saturday. Next Sunday. I don't know why I keep saying Saturday. Next Sunday at 1:00. She will be here. I will not be here for probably 2 or 3 episodes, just kind of depending on how recovery goes, but you will be in good hands with Mel. BJ will be here joining her next week. They are going to talk about the Ring Boys lawsuit, which is extremely important. If you did not get a chance, please go back to our channel. Mel and I had a really wonderful conversation with Professor Bridget Carr. We had a conversation about human trafficking, and we had she gave us a lot of enlightening information that is just good to know in general, because unfortunately this is a widespread issue, not just in the world of wrestling, but just in the world that we live in. And so I definitely recommend that you check that out whenever you have time, if you haven't already. And then, so we don't end on that note. We'll go back to the comments real quick before we leave. Daza said to watch all the Substance. He said also you should all watch the Substances Halloween. It's wild. Is that the Demi Moore movie? Because no, that will not be happening with me. I will not be watching that.
You've been saying that it's really good. I'll probably wait for it to come to streaming, but
no,
I've heard from Daza and someone and John that it's an excellent flick. So
yeah, and I saw that poor Emmy was trying to go see another movie and she couldn't go see it for whatever reason, and she saw that because Demi Moore was in it and apparently was scarred. So poor Emmy. And Venkin says that you can watch Sari versus Bozilla from Marigold just as a suggestion. I keep hearing such great things about Bozilla. I keep hearing that she's incredible and a lot of good things about her. Nikki said that she enjoyed the Halloween Scream fun. No, I don't really follow NWA. I'll see some stuff here and there, but it is not something that I keep up with. I do know that the amazing, unless something has changed since the last I saw, the amazing King Bees are the women's champions there, and they're wonderful. And I was lucky enough to get to interview them earlier this year for Daily DDT when they were here for Ashe, and they're great. They're both really, really great. And so I'm happy for them getting those title shots. But other than that, I don't really follow NWA very closely. It's just not really for me, even though there are some wrestlers over there that I do like. Nikki says she loves the King Bees. Thank you, Daza. Daza said our work on this should get Hall of Fame voting privileges. Thank you.
Maybe some year, Daza.
It's not something that I actively seek out to happen, but I truly appreciate.
I mean, Sam definitely is
your vote of confidence. It really does mean a lot. I truly thank you so much for that.
It's a nice compliment.
It is. It is a very nice.
Definitely is somebody that should be in that group.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You are. Yeah, a lot of us tap you for a lot of information.
Well, I'm glad
your memory and your knowledge of
it.
Things that are really important, especially with what's going on right now, is really like helpful. And it's like, because I always know I'm like, I can take a picture of this wrestler, or I can say to Sam, like, remember that thing that happened? You're like, oh yeah, that was March of 2023. I mean, that's it's, and I know a lot of that is because you've been covering it that closely, but that's a good resource to have. And I mean, even this week, I mean, barring, obviously we want you to be recovered, but I'm obviously going to be asking you questions here and there about things, because I mean, I really respect, like, I know what you've put into this, and
thank you. Truly. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. It's not always the easiest stuff to deal with and to talk about, but it is an important thing to cover because it is there. And I would be covering it no matter the company if this one, and this isn't just she doesn't really like WWE. If this was happening in AEW, I would still be covering it. It's an important topic to talk about. It will wherever, and so I appreciate that. And thank you, Daza. He said you're more deserving than some already with votes. Just saying, thank you. Thank you for saying that, Daza. I really appreciate that. That's not how I was trying to end this show with compliments for me, but I will graciously and humbly
thank Keila for joining us and end on that note.
Yes, because Keila has got to come. We don't want this to just be an annual. Of course, we are always grateful for her to come on the Halloween live stream, but we would like to get her here more often because we always have fun with Keila. Keila always gives great insights, because who would have compared Johnny Gargano to finding his inner Wheeler Yuta? I would not have come to that conclusion. So I'm glad that we have Keela's perspective and her voice in this crazy world of wrestling, and to be on the Fight Game Media Network with us, because there's not very many women voices, and Keila is an important one as well. And so we are always grateful for Keela's time, especially because she's gonna have to go do another show in a little bit, and she's probably like, please stop talking so that I can
never, absolutely
so
not.
I can go rest my voice.
I rested for like 6 hours, but thank you guys for having me. It was so much fun, and we can make this annual, and I can come bi-monthly, every other month.
You're
whatever
welcome
you're looking
anytime.
We definitely want you here.
You're
more
an
often. We
anytime
love-
gal.
yeah.
I might take you up on that while
Feel
Sam's
free to just
healing.
crash in one day. You can just be like, you know what? I have some things to say. I would like to come talk
I'm
about.
gonna have her
You
tag
wanna-
in
you
one
wanna
of the days
come-
that you're off.
Keila might want to come yell about Chris Jericho again with me. I have a feeling that's going to happen during
We
the title
can yell
run.
about him
You can
for
come yell with
you
me.
in a couple weeks.
I
Yes,
will
Won't be
appreciate
able because you
that.
have to rest your voice for really
Yes,
we can come
Keila
and talk.
can,
We
if
can yell about
Keila
him
Keila
for
is
you.
not busy and would like to
Yeah.
come through as an honorary broad to yell about Chris Jericho, I
But
would.
you're
be
always
thrilled.
welcome here. We love having you so much.
I love
Before
being
we-
here.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And somebody, I know that you gave your predictions at the beginning of the show, but do you have any predictions for Halloween Havoc? Again.
Oh, Halloween Havoc predictions. Let's see. Trick Williams beats Ethan Page in the Devil's Playground.
Ooh,
I got
okay.
Julie and Stephanie winning the tag against Cora and Roxanne. I'm a little torn on Oba versus Tony D. Oba could win to get his championship back, but I'm going to say Tony D'Angelo, but we shall see. Andre Chase beats Rich Holland in the ambulance match. Kalani beats whoever from Fatal Influence. And I think that's the only other match on the card, honestly, to my recollection.
That sounds, I think you sound pretty right, because NXT is not something I follow closely. I do keep an eye on it, especially because Javon is there, and they're doing some really great stuff, especially with the women. They could some Triple H could use some lessons from Shawn Michaels down there when it comes to booking women. I mean, Tony Gonko too. a lot of companies could look at what they're doing down there and try to replicate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Vinkin says that Cora's in that match to get pinned.
100%. No doubt.
Well, you've got some strong women like that, and that's not to say that Cora is not, but when you have strong women like that, yeah. Sorry for you, Cora. Or maybe not so sorry. She kind of deserves it.
Yes, Roxanne a wave like, thank you, but I haven't forgotten what you did to me 2 years ago.
Right, exactly. Listen, if Penelope Ford can come back after Jamie Hayter for what she did 2 years ago, and that was the last, she didn't call her for 2 years during her injury, then, or while she was recovering, then, I can see Cora and Roxanne got some beef for what happened there. But on that note, I think we are for real going to end it this time. But again, thank you so much, Keila, for your time and your thoughts and sharing we love having you here, and we do need to make this more than once a year. We need to have you on again. And thank you to everybody who watched live and was in the chat with us. And if you were watching live and weren't in the chat, we appreciate that too. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you for that. And come hang out with Mel next Sunday at 1:00 on this very YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.